albeit some tech issues. Well, let's just get to the point here. Today we're talking about another Uber and Lyft driver strike in Los Angeles and 6 other cities. I'm coming to you from one of those cities, San Diego, California. So as you saw in the title, today we're going to talk about this really second strike in 2 months, and who's organizing it. And if you're participating, let me know. Let me know in the live chat or the comments if you're watching this in the rebroadcast, if you will be participating in this driver strike. Guys, I see you in here now. Striker, thanks for being here. Leo, Alex, thanks for being here, guys, albeit we had some tech issues to start. So I kind of stumbled upon this earlier this afternoon. I'll show you what I mean by that. I really stumbled upon that this was happening. Well, let me ask you a question right now. Were you aware that this was happening, this strike? Are you in one of these cities? And again, will you be participating? Earlier this afternoon, I was on Twitter, and I saw this from Harry Campbell, the rideshare guy, a fantastic resource if you're a rideshare driver or you're just in the gig economy. And Harry tweeted out, I'll be heading to LAX tomorrow to cover the Los Angeles Uber driver strike. Expecting a pretty big turnout, as it looks like Drivers United has really gone all out on this one with free parking, a shuttle bus to take drivers to picketing and rally areas, etc. I was like, whoa, I didn't even really hear about this. So I dug a little bit deeper, and this seems like a more mapped out strike from last month that also took place in a similar area, Los Angeles, California. Did also take place down here in San Diego to a bit. That was in front of a Uber Green Light Help Center. So if you're an Uber driver, Uber has these green light support centers for you as a driver, and it took place out in front of one of those. Stryker says the IPO for Uber is tomorrow. We'll be following that closely. And Stryker says, I thought we were going to shift to Lyft on the 8th. Perhaps driving for the Lyft platform instead of Uber on the 8th. This brings up a very, very interesting question. And a reason that I wanted to bring this to you today, because it's about organization and communication. So firstly, if you guys don't know, we did a video. I'm going to play a little bit of it right now, just in the background for you to watch. We did a video on the strike from last month. And again, this was in Los Angeles here, where drivers organized, and it was for kind of similar messaging. It says, hey, why is this happening, right? It's because of pay cuts, changes to the app, more commission being taken from your earnings as a driver, more being taken out and more going to Uber and or Lyft. Lyft isn't off the hook, by the way. So this was from last month. This is a video that we did last month for this strike. And again, going back to Harry's messaging here, actually, let's get a little bit closer here. This is what we saw from Rideshare Drivers United, an organization that is hosting and organizing this strike. Stryker says this is all day. Michelle, thanks for being here, says, what time is the strike supposed to start? Fantastic question. Michelle, let's go into that. So as you guys can see right here, this is the messaging, official messaging map and schedule of events from Rideshare Drivers United. Take a look. We can see here tonight, midnight, May 8th, a 24-hour organized strike and protest if you're a rideshare driver. This actually, the messaging behind this says if you're a rideshare driver. It doesn't say just Uber. Remember, that last strike last month in Los Angeles was in front of a Uber help center. So Lyft wasn't getting as much attention. Lyft had actually went live as a public company, and you can continue to monitor their fluctuating stock price on the Lyft camp. So let's take a look at this. Up top, May 8th, Los Angeles, rideshare strike. Again, rideshare, not just Uber. Rideshare strike and a national day of action. Let's remove this so you guys can see better. And now if we go on their, well, here's their Twitter. If we go on the website for Rideshare Drivers United. You guys can definitely check this out. Let me make sure I get to the right website. There we go. Drivers-united.org. Drivers-united.org. We're going to go over the Bill of Rights here that's being asked of these companies. But firstly, I want to bring your attention up here to the top of the website. Rideshare Drivers United has called for a 24-hour strike. Michelle, that asks your question there. It's going to be a 24-hour strike on all rideshare platforms. A striker that answers your question. This is for all rideshare platforms. Started midnight tonight, May 8th. So let's click on this. And this will bring up that map that Harry posted. And it's going to give us a more high resolution here for you to look at. Then again, let's remove this so you can see better. Guys, thanks for being here. I appreciate you being here, everybody. Are you participating in this tonight? Were you aware of this? This is taking place in 6 cities. Los Angeles, here in San Diego, as well as others. We'll go back into that. We'll get you the exact cities once we go back to their page here. So, schedule of events, left-hand side. Tonight at midnight, apps off for the next 24 hours. All rideshare apps. Lyft and Uber. From 5 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., you can see a picket shift at departure level. This, again, like Harry mentioned, at Los Angeles LAX airport. For more, you can see the map over here. And again, guys, if you want to see this, you can follow along with me, drivers-united.org. You can click on the top and you'll see this map for yourself. From noon until 1 p.m., we see rallying speeches at In-N-Out Park. Shuttle stop number 5. If we look on the map here, that is right here, if you can follow the mouse. 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. picket shift at departure level. 7 p.m. until midnight. This would be into tomorrow evening, of course. The last picket shift, again, at departure level. Some interesting points that I noticed here. If you look over here, I don't know if it's too small. Can we zoom in? Yes, we can. There's shuttle stops with free parking. So I do like the organization there from Drivers United. Free parking lot, courtesy of IBEW, Local 11, and it has an address there. And then it has the different picket areas right there. As a schedule again. Let's click on this. Here's a flyer. And again, going back to the question of who this affects, it says right here, Uber and Lyft driver strike. This is tomorrow, Wednesday, May 8th. Apps off, midnight to midnight, May 8th. That started in, geez, guys, only not too long. A couple of hours, right, tonight. I'll be watching this closely. Look for posts across. Let me come back to you here, guys. I'm going to be watching this closely tonight. So look across socials. Make sure to follow across Twitter, YouTube. If we see things, I'm definitely going to be posting tonight and into tomorrow about the developments going on here, not only in San Diego, but across the country and Los Angeles. So again, Uber and Lyft driver strike, Wednesday, May 8th. Fight pay cuts. Demand the driver's Bill of Rights. Let's go into the driver's Bill of Rights. Let's show you what Drivers United is asking for you as a driver. We can see here food truck, Uber and Lyft driver, an Uber and Lyft driver, food truck party 5 to 7, and more. I will say, guys, if you saw this previous video talking about the strike last month, I think this strike tomorrow is seemingly more organized than the strike from last month. And again, Watch this video. Watch this video if you have not seen this video yet. The one that you're watching right now that I talk about this strike from last month. And my honest, transparent opinion. Again, you can see there it's titled LA Uber Strike and Rate Cut 2019. Go on the channel. Make sure to watch that before tomorrow. So let's go back to the website here for Rideshare Drivers United. I want your opinion right here, guys. Let's go through the demands for a driver's bill of rights together. Let's go through that. And I am going to ask for your honest feedback. I want this to be complete honest feedback. Let me know exactly what you think. If you think that these are fantastic ideas, if you think they're bad ideas, keep it civil in the comments, please, in the live chat. But please voice your opinion about this driver's bill of rights and the demands from Drivers United as a whole. And you know what? There we go. I'm going to zoom in again. Make it easier for you guys to see. There we go. I'm catching up with you guys here in the comment section. Again, let me know where you're watching from, if you were aware of this, if you're going to be participating tonight into tomorrow regarding this driver strike. Striker says, I was planning on driving for Lyft only, was going with the shift to Lyft movement as far as shutting off your app for Uber and driving Lyft exclusively. I thought that was the reason why they picked Wednesday as a slow day to disrupt Uber's IPO. Guys, if you aren't aware, Uber's IPO is coming up. Currently, the company is a private company. And now we will get more transparency, especially into the financials, as Uber will become a public company. So we're going to follow that story as well. So make sure you're following closely across socials so you can be in the know there. So number one, the demands from Drivers United. Fair pay. A 10% commission cap for Uber and Lyft. Let me educate you a little bit about this if you're unaware. When Uber first started, they had a very simple commission structure, where let's say 2015, 2016, and if you drove during those years, Uber would take 20 to 25% of your earnings, of the fare, of the overall earnings, right? If you signed up in, I think it was November, December 2015 and earlier, you had 20% taken from your fare. If you signed up a little bit later, that number increased to 25%. An increase, but arguably still fair. So Drivers United is asking for a 10% commission cap for Uber and Lyft. In essence, you would keep 90% of your earnings. Why is that important? Well, that 20 to 25% that we just mentioned, that was taken from your pay, which is pretty standard. If you're in sales or if you're in any commission-based structure, an 80-20 split is common. That's average. So that had changed. And more drivers in 2018 and 2019 and this year are showing evidence that Uber and Lyft are taking much more than 20 and 25%. And there's been screenshots of drivers' earnings that clearly show that. So Drivers United is asking for a 10% commission cap. Nowadays, again, it's been shown that Uber and Lyft are taking more than 25% even. And Drivers United is asking for 10%. Do you agree with that? Number two, pay drivers per mile and per minute rate en route to the passenger. This is a very interesting ask. If you guys don't know, similar to delivery apps do not pay you from your current destination where you get your request to the restaurant. The same thing as we can see here with Rideshare, you don't get paid to the pickup location. Now, you may not think that that's too big of a deal. Okay, well, I'm picking up a passenger. Oh, typically they are just a few minutes away. They're a couple blocks away. But think about your daily runs, your weekly runs, your monthly and your yearly runs. Hey, that could be a great benefit to drivers, right? If these companies paid you the time and the miles to the passenger. And if that was granted, would, let's say, Uber Eats then pay you from your current destination to the restaurant? What do you think about that? Paying you from your current location to the passenger. And then I'm going to give your feedback once I hear your guys' feedback. Please post your feedback in the comments here. Quest, thanks for being here. M. Silverhammer, Quaker Oats, thanks for being here, guys. Set hourly minimum pay matching New York City's $27.86 per hour before expenses. That is very interesting. The ask here is, I'm assuming this is nationwide, right? Set an hourly minimum pay matching New York City's $27.86 per hour, that is before expenses. And lastly, include a gas price index surcharge in fare. So what that's saying, I'm assuming, is as gas prices fluctuate, now here in San Diego around $4.11 per gallon, charge a extra, right? Charge a surcharge to the passengers, how I'm reading that. I'm going to give my feedback here in a second, guys, but please let me know, what do you think of this driver's Bill of Rights regarding fair pay? Lisa, thanks for being here. Lisa says, hi from Connecticut. I'm not driving for Uber or Lyft this Wednesday. Lisa is taking part in the National Day of Action. Quaker Oats, thanks for being here again, says Wednesday is a slow day, of course. They're taking that off. If this was a serious thing, they would have done it for an entire week. Quest says 35 to 55% take from my pay at times. Again, going back to the fact that we've seen evidence that Uber, and let's assume Lyft as well, because I know that's been the case, has taken much more than the original 20 to 25%. Now, keep in mind, I am not saying that these companies are overtly cheating you as a driver. As a driver, you do agree to their terms of service, which it is your responsibility to read. Do most drivers read that terms of service? Honestly, let's say probably not. This is at will work, working on these apps, and that's what's contentious about this. I'm going to provide my feedback here in just a second on this fair pay, but that's contentious, this at will work. Remember, you're an independent contractor, and you agree to the terms of service that Uber and Lyft set forth, and when there's revisions to the contract or the pay, you are in essence forced to review and agree to those terms before going back online and accepting more passengers. The problem with that is you, again, really have to agree. There's no option to modify, change, or really decline the agreement. If you decline the revisions, then hey, you've just declined working on these platforms, so you can't go online. Okay. So right now I'm going to give my feedback on this fair pay. Guys, if you haven't done so already, can you please leave a like on this video? It shows me that you get value in these live streams and the content here on the channel. It gets more people in here and more people on the Your Driver Mike team. And of course, since we're here on YouTube, it boosts us in YouTube's almighty algorithm. If you haven't done so already, consider leaving a like on this video. And by the way, all super chats do change the Philips hue behind me to correspond with the level of super chat that you dropped, including an animation at the green level. So what do I think about this fair pay ask? Let's go line by line. 10% commission cap for Uber and Lyft. Guys, I would drive Rideshare again at a 10% commission cap. That's a fantastic ask to change the commission structure from 20, 25, or really higher nowadays to a 10% commission cap. I would really even get back into Rideshare for either platform at a 10% commission cap. Let's really go over what that means. If there was a 10% commission cap, don't you think, or would you think that these companies would change the rates to adjust their margin. Maybe they will give you 10%, but they're going to pay significantly less. So really the overall aggregate is the same, right? You're not making much more because the rates would be changed to reflect that. Do you think that's realistic? I'm going to go ahead and say, I don't think that Uber or Lyft will change commissions to 10%. I don't. If they started at 20% in 2014, 2015, adjusting for expenses, inflation, what have you, here in 2019, I don't think these companies, pretty confidently I can say that these companies are not going to give a 10% commission cap. Pay drivers per mile and per minute rate en route to the passenger. Is this a good idea? A good ask? Yes. I like that ask. I think that's a smart ask. Do I think these companies will do that? Possibly. Yeah. This ask, I think, is doable. I think if I was Uber and Lyft, if you can't change the commission structure, which again, I don't think they're going to go down to 10%, I think they could do this. Paying drivers per minute and per mile en route to the passenger. I think that would be a doable ask. Again, this is pure speculation. I do not, of course, have access to their finances, of course. Number 3, set hourly minimum pay matching New York City's $27.86 per hour before expenses. Do I think that's a reasonable and doable ask? I do not. The reason, if you guys don't know, that New York City's minimum is set at $27.86. Now, I can't say specifically why that number, but in part because of the city's regulations. Okay, well, hey, let's get our city to press regulations. Sure, that's a possibility, but really, moreover, because of the commercial insurance expenses for these drivers. If you don't know, if you drive a rideshare in New York City, you have to have complete, full commercial insurance. That is extremely expensive. I don't want to get you a wrong number, but I know it's at least, I've heard 5 figures, $10,000 plus for the year. So that in part is why there's the cap in New York City, among other reasons and restrictions there. Include a gas price index surcharge in fare. Is this a reasonable and doable ask? Possibly. I am less confident about this one versus the pay en route to the passenger. I could see something like this because, frankly, Uber and Lyft have surcharges to passengers. There's little surcharges here and there. I believe in New Jersey or New York, there's a surcharge for cross-state trips. Don't quote me on that, but for one thing that is certain is that a lot of markets have a surcharge. Actually, most, if not all markets have a surcharge for picking up, dropping off at the airport. The passenger will pay, in addition to their fare, a surcharge for using rideshare at the airport. That's an agreement that is set up with these airports with the rideshare company. So the city says, hey, we'll let you operate Uber and Lyft at our airport, but you have to pay us a per ride surcharge, which is smart of the airport, smart of the city. Would they have a gas price index surcharge for fuel? That I don't know. Let's catch up with you guys. Again, let me know where you're watching from. Consider leaving a like here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Don't be left out of the conversation. Do not be left out. Let me know your comments in the live chat or the rebroadcast about fair pay. Quest says TLC charges. Exactly, guys. Yeah, TLC, that's the Transportation Limousine Commission, if I'm remembering that correctly. There's more fees, regulations in New York City. That's why that pay is, seemingly so high. And also remember, the cost of living in New York City is just as expensive as up north in Los Angeles, and it's pretty close to here in San Diego, very expensive markets. So that $27.86, we'll have to make sense of that, remember, for the cost of living, of course, for those markets. Dustin is driving. Oh, it's not really live. Yes, Dustin, we are live right now. This is live, in fact. Simplify, thanks for being here. I'm blessed in my market, but will still honor the stoppage. So I'm interested in what market you're driving in, what the rates are in that market, and perhaps it's a smaller or a medium market that you have a good balance of drivers versus passengers. I'm not sure. Let us know. Quaker Oats says, we are independent contractors for a reason. We agreed to the earnings from the start and we can quit at any time. Really kind of the counter argument almost is that yes, if you drive for these companies, you are well, firstly, you're a business owner. So you need to take responsibility for the taxes. Let me just let you guys know that as a pro tip right now is you're a business owner. You're a 1099 independent contractor. So you have to manage taxes come tax time next April. We just had, of course, the tax season here. So keep that in mind. But yes, as Quaker Oats mentioned, you do agree to the terms of and services as well as the pay. But that doesn't mean that if there's some, seemingly unfair terms in pay that you shouldn't have some voice as well. And that's exactly what this stoppage is for, is having a voice as a driver. Dustin is happy that this stream is live. Yes, Dustin, this is in fact live. Dustin says, now I can say thumbs up to the stream, everybody. I appreciate that. Dustin, will you be at the strike tomorrow? No, I will be at my day job, my full-time job, but I will be watching this closely here in San Diego. And that's an interesting thing, guys, is, if I was a full-time rideshare driver, the narrative would certainly be different than me coming to you as really former part-time driver. Keep that in mind, is I don't do rideshare anymore, but I want to be as objective as possible I can on these terms. And hey, I would absolutely get back into rideshare. So I want to use this stream, and actually right now, share this stream if you know someone that's a driver, because hey, I wasn't really familiar with this strike going on tomorrow, which means that there's one of the challenges of these strikes has always been communication, is getting this communicated out to the driver community. I wasn't really aware of it, and I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands or millions of drivers that aren't aware either. So if you are interested in sharing this with somebody, consider sharing the stream. They can watch it right now, they can join, or they can watch it in the rebroadcast. Chat's going pretty good, guys, here. So we're going to jump back in here because I want to go through this driver bill of rights here and go over the TNC transparency, transportation network. Number one, transparent, speedy, independent deactivation appeals process. Interesting. With all discipline held to just cause standards. And by the way, this is the first time that I'm reading this. So you're seeing this raw and real, my reaction to this driver's bill of rights. And let me know your thoughts in the live chat or in the comment section. I want to hear the dialogue from you as well. So, okay, transparent, speedy, independent deactivation appeals process. What this means is if you're deactivated as a rideshare driver, and a fact for you guys is I was in essence deactivated from the Uber platform. They rerun background checks now and deemed that my driving record wasn't up to snuff from 2011, believe it or not. When every single year since 2015, I had driven on the platform. I don't really know if that's fair. And I remember I talked to an Uber rep, just to tell you a quick story, that had a similar experience, who was in essence deactivated for a driving infraction from years ago. And they told the support rep, I've been driving for years. Why all of a sudden am I being deemed not able to drive? And they say, oh, well, we're running the background check for your lifetime. It used to be, 7 years prior. Now we're running it lifetime, and you may be deemed to not qualify. But the funny thing is, guys, is I can drive for Lyft right now if I want. I can drive for Lyft, but I can't drive for Uber. I thought that was unfair, and I went back and forth with the rep. Didn't make sense to me, but anyway, I digress. So if you are deactivated, as you can see here, the Drivers United group is asking for transparent, speedy, and a independent, a third-party appeals process. So if I wanted to appeal, or if one of you guys want to appeal a deactivation, it doesn't really go through Uber's resources. It'll go through an independent third party. to objectively look at the deactivation and see if it was merited. And you can see here with the discipline held to just cause standards. So, I mean, I'm not a lawyer. This is not meant to be legal advice. The way I read that is if there's actual just cause, if it's a credible reason to deactivate you. Like, for instance, if you had a DUI, if that infraction in 2011 was a DUI, and for some reason it wasn't caught earlier, and now it was caught, then yeah, that'd be just cause. They don't. If you have a DUI, you can't drive for rideshare. I mean, that wasn't the case though. Okay. Number 2, show drivers the estimated fare payments and the trip destination before accepting the trip. I'll tell you guys, this is something that has been discussed for years. I'm going to ask you right now, let me know in the live chat or in the comments. Do you think you have the right, or maybe not the right, do you think that it would be more fair to see the estimated payment for the trip before accepting the trip? My thoughts on that. Knee-jerk reaction is absolutely, right? It's absolutely. I want to see how much I'm going to be paid, and ideally it's where I want to be headed. And if you guys don't know, Lyft at least has in the past shown drivers the passenger route, the upcoming routes, where they're going to go. So you have an idea of how long that trip's going to be. This is asking for pay up front. What do you think? Zachary, this is exactly what I was kind of thinking. Zachary, thanks for being here. He says, DoorDash does this already. It's more fair. If you guys don't know, I do drive on delivery platforms like DoorDash, and apps like DoorDash and Amazon Flex as well. Postmates does not do this, but those apps that I mentioned, DoorDash, Amazon Flex, they show you how much that run's going to be before you accept the run. Now, Zachary continues and says it's more fair. I will play devil's advocate on that. It's more fair to the driver, yes, because I also drive on Postmates, another delivery platform. Links are down below in the description if you guys are interested in signing up for these platforms. And Postmates does not show you how much you make, how much you will make for that delivery run. Now, who do I prefer to drive for? DoorDash and Amazon Flex, the ones that tell me the rates ahead of time. So that's more fair to me, but is it more fair to the end user and the platform? That is debatable because, I mean, let's remember, we're seeing these scenarios from our side as the driver on these apps, but I mean, let's also have respect for both sides because on the DoorDash platform, I'm an independent contractor. So if you're a plumber, right? If you're a plumber or electrician, you have your own business, you're an independent contractor, and customers contract you out, you set the price that you're willing to work for. Okay, I want to do $25 an hour, what have you. So that's kind of in a similar vein, is if I'm a delivery driver and I look at the prices, I say, okay, well, yeah, I feel fair for my services driving for an $8 run, a $10 run, or maybe I decline a $3 or $4 run. I would say that, yeah, that is more fair to you as a driver. Is it more fair to the end user and the platform? That's debatable because, yes, there will be other drivers out there that take really all runs. There's going to be someone out there, typically, I'll speak generally here, that will take that run. But what if there's not? What if that causes a longer waits for, let's say in this case, the passenger? What if, turning this back to rideshare, what if you can see the rates before you accept the trip as a driver and we see the wait times drastically increase for riders that are doing shorter trips, right? If I could do a 5-minute trip, I'm going to get paid, I don't know, $5. Or I could do a 12-minute trip and for whatever reason, incentives, it's much higher, and I wait for that higher run. That's interesting to think about. We could have a whole debate about that. Let me know in the comments here. Number 3, show the complete fare breakdown with Uber or Lyft's take their commission, their full take on the passenger receipt. Here's my feedback here. I want to make sure that we continue to move forward here. So my feedback, and let me know your feedback here in the live chat here, guys. Rough Soccer, thanks for being here as always. Rough Soccer says it may be the best situation for short rides for the riders. Lisa says an unreasonable trip for me may be super reasonable for another driver. Depends on where I'm trying to head to. I think that's a fantastic point by Lisa, because that makes a lot of sense. Because yes, if I get a fair amount or distance ahead of time, yeah, I may want to take that $15 run that's a little bit further, a little bit more out of my way. I wasn't planning on going in that direction, but it's a great pay. Or maybe I'm super tired, guys. I'm turning in, but if I had a pretty quick run, I'd do another $6, another quick run, maybe 10, 15 minutes, not 15, 5 minutes. We'll say 5-minute run. Yeah, I can do that. And that comes through. That would be perfect for me. So yes, there's some great truth in that from Lisa there. Quest says, as a contractor, I need to make money, so short runs will get a decline for me. There's a lot of strategies there. You know, maybe you can do short runs. Maybe you balance it with delivery, and then you get some pay incentives on delivery. Anyway, not to tangent there. Let me give you my feedback. Third-party deactivation appeals processes, I think that's a fair ask. I think that's a fair and doable ask. If we want the most transparency, why not have it through a third-party group? Especially because for at least, let's say, half of drivers, this is your livelihood. You rely on this income and these apps. So why put that in the hands of the rideshare company to decide the appeals process of your deactivation? Number 2, show drivers the estimated fare, payment, and the trip destination. So, okay, let's clarify. We're asking for both the fare payment and the trip destination before the trip. Is that a fair and doable ask? I think that is a fair ask. Is it doable? Well, hey, it is doable. These apps can definitely do that. Will they do that? I don't think so. I think it's certainly fair, but I don't think they're going to do it. This is for both Uber and Lyft. I think you will get the trip destination. You know, if Lyft is still doing that, they'll continue to do that. If they've stopped doing that, they may continue. Uber, if you twist their arm enough, if there's enough voice around it, I think you may get the trip destinations before accepting the trip. The pay, however, that I don't know. Number 3, show the complete fare breakdown from Uber or Lyft's take on the passenger. Interesting, on the passenger's receipt. I just kind of was drawn to that it's not focused on the driver. That says on the passenger receipt. Is that a fair and doable ask? It's fair. Is it doable? I don't think they'll do that. I have a feeling that they wouldn't do that on the passenger end. The split of what the driver takes. You know, maybe that gets into privacy issues. They don't want to share how much the driver would be making. I could see that argument. Now, if the full pay isn't broken down for the driver, I think that if there's an argument and some voice there about, hey, you're not showing us all the fees, what have you, that you're taking from driver pay, I think that's a fair and reasonable ask. Now, you know, they've always given you, or at least since 2015-16, have given you a breakdown of the commission being taken, fees being taken, the per trip fee that your passenger pays. But on the passenger end, I don't think so. Moving on. A voice on the job. Zachary continues and says, I try to stay in my area. Rideshare 2K, thanks for being here. Rideshare says, if they give us something, we are going to have to give up something, give or take, and we will have to be ready for losing to gain. I think yes and no to that. Some of these things these companies can add if they truly want to invest in their drivers and their community. Some things they may be able to give drivers without giving up. Why would it have to be give and take if you're simply adding a destination ahead of time? But I mean, there's entire debates you could have about that. There's a lot of points you need to consider as well. For the sake of this, the time here, let's move on to a voice on the job. Number one, Uber and Lyft recognition of our independent driver-led organization to negotiate on behalf of drivers. Number two, the right to organize without retaliation. Number three, a elected driver representative appointed to Uber and Lyft's board of directors. What do you guys think about having a voice? A voice on the job we can see here. Let me know in the live chat. So let me give you my feedback here as I continue to read your live chat here. These are some very, and again, it's the first time that I'm seeing this, guys, some very interesting asks here from Drivers United. Again, you can go to drivers-united.org. You can follow along with me. And you can see the strike map right here on their website as well, detailing strike plans for tonight at midnight in 7 total cities here in the United States. A planned 24-hour strike across all rideshare apps, again, starting tonight at midnight, going into midnight, May 9th. So number one, recognition of our independent driver-led organization to negotiate on behalf of drivers. I see a big, I don't know if we'll call it a pain point, but I see an issue with this. To negotiate on behalf of drivers. Firstly, we need to consider that there are hundreds of thousands of rideshare drivers in the United States. I'm sure that number, could be over 1 million or multi-million drivers. I don't know the exact number. There's an extremely large pool of drivers out there in the United States. This organization is asking for recognition from Uber and Lyft to negotiate on behalf of those drivers. I'm going to ask you, were you aware of Drivers United? Were you aware of this organization? Do you follow these organizations? Because I will bet that at least some of you watching this have never heard of Drivers United. And I can guarantee that there are tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of drivers that aren't familiar with Drivers United as well. Now, that does not say anything to the credibility of Drivers United. I know they're working very hard to organize this. That is not to say this is not a credible organization. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this ask is asking to be recognized and negotiate. I don't think that it's going to happen just because there is no consensus. Some of you watching this may say, absolutely not. I don't want this organization to negotiate for me as a driver. I'm an independent contractor. I want to have the right to negotiate if need be. If anyone's going to negotiate, it's going to be me. Number two, the right to organize without retaliation. Now, this I agree with. This I agree with. If even if you are a independent contractor, right, which you are, you should have the right to voice your opinion, organize. I mean, that's one of your rights, to peacefully organize without retaliation from these companies. If you go to the strike tonight, tomorrow, and I do not know how these companies would find out, or let's say maybe you're posting across social media. That's most likely how they would find out. You're posting across social media, you're spreading this info. You should be able to do so without retaliation, without fear of, let's say, being deactivated from one of these companies. And that I agree with. Number three, an elected driver representative appointed to Uber and Lyft's board of directors. I want to take a little time out here, guys, and thank you for watching. And if you haven't done so already, consider leaving a like on this video. It doesn't take long, and it shows me that you guys get value in this live stream, the content here on the channel. It gets more people in here, more people on the Your Drive for Mike team, and of course, since we're here on YouTube, it boosts us in YouTube's almighty algorithm. If you haven't done so already, consider leaving a like, sharing this as well. And if you are considering dropping a super chat, that does control the Philips Hue behind me, and at the green level includes animation. So lastly, a elected driver representative appointed to Uber and Lyft's board of directors. I do not see this happening. No, I do not see this happening. If anything, traction will result in one or both of these companies taking meetings with leadership from Drivers United. I think if they really open the door, they would schedule meetings with Drivers United or other driver organizations and listen that way, or at least take some email correspondence, what have you. But no, I do not see a driver representative being appointed to Uber and Lyft's board of directors. Now, I will say that these companies do have driver roundtables, both Uber and Lyft. Lyft, I recently heard they've really expanded their driver advisory council, their DAC, I believe they've called it. They may be calling it something else, but I recently heard, again, going back to Harry Campbell, who is a fantastic resource for the rideshare space. And you can see here, Harry just recently posted one of his podcast episodes. And in one of those podcasts, there's a great narrative around one of these driver councils. Harry brought on I believe the COO, if I'm remembering correctly, of Lyft. Again, if my memory serves me correctly. So definitely check out, you can see here, the rideshareguy.com. These podcasts are fantastic, and look for that episode where Harry brings on I believe again, Lyft executive, if I'm remembering correctly there. Moving on to our last point from the Driver Bill of Rights. M. Silverhammer says, my strike has almost reached 2 months. That's 2 months of not driving, it looks like, from M. Silverhammer. Thanks for being here. Rideshare 2K says, a whole week strike would do it. And guys, if you're just joining, if you haven't done so already, please do watch this video. Oh, we have Chocolate Slayer. Thank you so much. And we caught it on live video, I believe. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. Very good. Chocolate Slayer just dropped a $2 super chat. I told you guys, took over the entire studio to reflect the donation level there. Thank you so much, Chocolate Slayer, for dropping that $2 super chat. Really appreciate it. If you guys haven't seen this video yet, I want you to watch this. This is my response video to the driver strike in Los Angeles just last month. And in this video, I detail some criticisms of the effectiveness of last month's strike. And that goes along with that last point there from Rideshare 2K. Lastly, community standards. Number 1, rideshare vehicle cap to eliminate unnecessary traffic and carbon emissions. Number 2, emission standards for all new vehicles added to the platform. And number 3, Uber and Lyft must share all vehicle data with local authorities for traffic management. So it looks like the community standards are standards for the, well, just that, community at large. Specifically, it looks like we're targeting emissions and vehicle management here. Catching back up with you guys here in the live chat. Renegade Biker, thanks for being here, says, as a Northwest Arkansas driver, I know that this market is already saturated in my area, and I will not be participating as a Uber and Lyft driver because I have a feeling that this strike is playing right into the hands of Uber and Lyft. Thanks for that commentary. Thanks for being here, Renegade Biker. Lisa says, police in Connecticut love rideshare drivers for reducing drunk driving. They told me so. And I'll make a little point about that, guys, is when I drove rideshare pretty heavily, even though it was part-time, guys, I was doing like 30 hours a week on top of a full-time job, maybe a little bit overboard. But the earnings were so good. The earnings were so good in late 2015 and 2016. It was the gamification, as it's been described. The gamification, it's almost like an arcade when you went into these apps and you saw all the earnings incentives. It was fascinating at the time, and it really got me entrenched and so engrossed in these systems, and frankly, it was very fun as well. I was making good money there. But to Lisa's point about, Lisa also liked the live stream. I appreciate that, Lisa. Make sure to leave a like, guys, if you're appreciating the content here on the channel. And the point that was made, I'm actually going to reset the Philips Hue. The Philips Hue is back up for grabs. Is law enforcement really do appreciate you as a rideshare driver? And I remember that I had minimal interactions with officers as a rideshare driver, but I really did get that vibe as a driver that they really did appreciate what we were doing, especially as Uber was really new to the Pittsburgh, PA market at that time in 2015. They were only maybe a year or two old. Now, statistics may argue this point, does rideshare actually decrease driving under the influence, drunk driving, DUI, etc.? We won't go into that. I've seen conflicting reports there. So let me give you my feedback on these community standards, and please do let me know your feedback. We need to have a conversation about all of this in the live chat or the comment section. Number 1, rideshare vehicle cap to eliminate unnecessary traffic and carbon emissions. Having a vehicle cap, do I think that's a reasonable and a doable ask? I think that's reasonable to ask for a vehicle cap. Is it doable? Well, it is doable. I mean, a lot of these are doable. Will it happen? No. I do not see this happening. The turnover rate previously was quoted around 96%. Years ago, it was quoted 96% of rideshare drivers are not driving after 6 months. Now that number has changed, and that number is lower now. I think it's maybe in the mid 80s or even lower. And again, in that fantastic podcast episode with Lyft's COO, that number is more clearly quoted for current statistics. But moreover, the point I'm making is that turnover is always a thing in these rideshare apps, okay? That even though turnover has gone down, it's still pretty high. Let's even say 60% of drivers are no longer driving after 6 months. So no, I do not see that these companies will cap vehicle counts. I just don't see it. And we can see here unnecessary traffic and carbon emissions. Now that first point does have some merit to it. I've seen statistics that say traffic is not decreasing because of rideshare. It is increasing. So I can understand that point about wanting to eliminate unnecessary traffic. Carbon emissions, I'm not an expert in that. I'm not going to speak to that if a cap would really affect carbon emissions or not. Number 2, emission standards for all new vehicles. That I can understand that ask. I don't see that happening either. I think that eats into vehicle standards, possibly. I don't know. I feel like most modern day vehicles would be more than suitable for driving on a rideshare platform, considering emissions. Again, I don't have stats that'll support any of that. But I feel like most vehicles on the road. Now, again, the whole premise behind rideshare is to use the vehicle you already have, right? If you're driving this, you can use the vehicle you already have. You don't have to worry about getting a special vehicle. So I think that gets into the realm of restriction. And the whole goal of this rideshare thing is to have the freedom of being able to just use your car, sign up, a pretty basic barrier to entry, and to make some money. Now, I can see the initiative moving towards, let's say, electric vehicles. I think that's what that's saying without saying it, is having more electric vehicles. And lastly, Uber and Lyft must share all vehicle data with local authorities for traffic management. Is this a reasonable and doable ask? I think that is reasonable. I also think that's doable. And I feel like at some point, these companies have been asked to do this as well, and they have thought this is now that Lyft is a public company, and guys, yes, Uber is going to be a public company shortly. Now there's going to be more transparency because now they must make their books, their earnings reports public in typically a shareholders meeting annually. A lot of these companies make this into almost an arena event for these shareholder meetings, and a shareholder report is released. Since this is released to shareholders, it is in essence public as well, as it is a public company, and these shareholders can share this data. And these shareholder reports go over everything from your quarter over quarter, year over year. It goes over expenses, concerns for the company. It will actually specifically detail in this report, we expect growth to do this, challenges to growth could be this, and it goes over to finances as well. So the vehicle data, that's not something that would be included in that shareholders report, to my knowledge. But going public, we may see more movement into things like that. So with that, guys, let me open it to questions from you. What questions do you have on anything you've seen today from right here, Rideshare at Drivers United? Again, if we click up top here, an organized strike tonight at midnight. I'm assuming this is midnight Pacific Standard Time into midnight May 9th. This is happening, the map you're seeing in Los Angeles, up near Los Angeles Airport. This is also happening here in San Diego, at the airport in San Diego, as well as 5 other markets. And I told you guys I was going to find those markets. I don't see it here. And I know it was not on Harry's tweets. But I know Chicago. Let's check out Drivers United because I think they listed it here. Let's see. Because I thought we saw it somewhere, guys. I'm not going to tie you up too long on this. Don't worry. Okay. So do some digging here on the Rideshare drivers Twitter. That is @_drivers_United. I don't want to tie you up too much here, guys, but San Diego, I believe Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, if I'm remembering that correctly here. So let's open it to questions. What questions do you have on anything that you've seen here from the strike tonight? Will you be there? Is this going to have an effect on anything? This is a 24-hour strike. Do you have questions on the Bill of Rights, asking for fair pay? Any of the terms in there? TNC transparency, a voice in the job. Lastly, community standards. Are you participating? Give me some feedback. Are you a part-time driver, a full-time driver? Did you know about this? Did you know about Drivers United? Will you be participating? Again, do you think these asks are fair and doable? Will this be effective? What would you like to see from these rideshare companies? Let's ask you that as well. Please let me know right now in the live chat, or if you're watching the rebroadcast, I try to get back to every single comment. Please let me know right now before we end the stream here. Let's see what you guys are saying. Striker says it will get attention from the media. Ultimately, I see also Striker says the strike will not be totally useless and effective. And then again, because of that, it'll get attention from the media. Now, M. Silverhammer conversely says, midnight strikes are totally useless and ineffective. Jim, thanks for being here. What are we talking about today? Feel free to rewind the stream. We're talking about a planned 24-hour strike on all ride-sharing platforms starting tonight at midnight. That will be May 8th into midnight, May 9th. This is in result of protests for rights and pay for rideshare drivers. Quest says, question, emission standards that they are asking for is United States or California standards. That wasn't detailed either. You know, if there's, I would hope, more of a breakdown of this and the terms of this, but I don't see too much in here as far as the Bill of Rights. And again, you know, feel free to do some more digging. I don't see much else on here to clarify that. Lisa says, we have to start somewhere. Media attention encourages attention on the driver plight. I do have riders that are concerned. M. Silverhammer continues, I wish that the strike was effective, but I just don't see it working. Lisa, I cannot complain and do nothing. I must act. I must hope. It has to be Friday, though. Friday through Sunday strikes. M. Silverhammer continues. Rideshare 2K says investors and big banks don't care about strikes as long as Uber can convince them they'll make money. I think that's a very focused point. So let's think about that. And for better or worse, I think there's a lot of truth in that investors in Uber, in Lyft, if you're investing tens of millions of dollars into these companies and or banks, will be looking long term. And they will be having those closed door conversations with these companies, and they'll probably be asking, hey, we see this strike stuff, we see some things going on here. Does it really affect your business? And I imagine in these negotiations for funding is possibly, to a degree, Uber and Lyft are sharing some data with them. Probably under a non-disclosure, or most definitely under a non-disclosure agreement that may say, hey, no, it really doesn't affect our platform at all. We don't know from the outside. That's very interesting. HGF, thanks for being here. Paid pickups, higher minimum fare, no trips under a mile. A higher minimum fare would certainly be interesting, and the lower commission, I think, is a really interesting ask, albeit I do not see a 10% commission happening. Quest says, I see a 30-point drop with a stock market price for Uber. Let's check something real quick, guys. I'm going to check the Lyft stock price. Let's take a look. So this is the current, let's zoom in here. The current stock price for Lyft, who is now, yes, a public company. You can go online and purchase stock in Lyft right now. Let's click on our 5-day. Let's click on our 1 month. Here's some more, I think, detailed insight. So this is the 1 month, and actually here, I think I'm blocking you guys. There we go. This is the 1 month trend for Lyft, for stock. Started in Monday, April 8th at, you can see here, $70.23 a share. Overall declining to this current price of $59.34. Now, if we go lifetime, right here, here's our lifetime IPO price. When Lyft went public as a company, you can see right there, listing at $78.29. And really, shortly thereafter, really dropped down there. You can see $69 right there. $69 Monday, April 1st. We do see a incline, and then from there really struggling to its current list price of $59.34. And that's since listing here. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Uber does, what Uber launches their initial public offering at, what kind of traction they get, the stock purchase prices, where they go, based on the track record that we've seen from Lyft. Quest says Uber and Lyft are not profitable companies. That is true. These companies are struggling to turn a profit. So much so, in fact, that I believe the loss in 2018 was $1.8 billion with a B, billion dollars from Uber. Now, I do want to caveat, make a little caveat there, is you shouldn't necessarily be scared off by that number, because this is a trend that does happen. I'm not going to say it's commonplace, but Amazon went through something similar. And Amazon still struggles to really show that profit. There's a lot of expenses: development, scaling, upfront, hiring. So that $1.8 billion loss, now, hey, this company is not an old company. So they're just going live as a public company. So if you feel like this company has growth, you'll invest. Maybe not at the IPO price, but you'll invest at a certain price point and have a long-term vested interest in the company. If you do not feel that they will ever be profitable, then obviously you will not invest, and you are banking on the fact that you made the right decision because they will not be profitable. But imagine if you were in the first camp when Google went live. I'm sure there's plenty of people in the camp that said, Google, what is this? It's never going to work, the search engine thing, and the company as a whole, no. And they chose not to invest. Now, imagine those that believed in the company. This is not the Google that we know today, right? Imagine when they first went live. And moreover, those that went all in on the company. Massive value today, obviously. Quest says Amazon only makes money on the cloud services. Yes, cloud services, guys, intangible cloud service or software items, absolutely. I'm a big fan of that. There's a good margin on anything digital. M. Silverhammer says, as we come to a close here, guys, says, once a huge loss is announced, the stocks will drop like a rock. Very good, guys. So let's come back here one more time to you guys. I appreciate you being here on the live stream. We went through a whole lot today about this strike that's happening, guys, not too long from now. Let's see. In exactly 3 hours or 4. 3 hours. So this is happening tonight. We're going to be watching this tonight into tomorrow, posting across socials. So if you haven't done so already, make sure to follow across socials to be in the know. And guys, one last thing before you go, if you haven't done so already, please do consider leaving a like on this live stream. It does show me that you get value in this live stream and the content here in the channel. Gets more people in here, more people on the Your Driver Mike team. And of course, since we're here on YouTube, it boosts us in YouTube's almighty algorithm. If you haven't done so already, consider leaving a like and post your questions and feedback down below in the comments section. I do definitely try to get back to most every single comment if I can. So with that, guys, I really appreciate you being here. Consider subscribing if you haven't subscribed already. Consider sharing this with somebody, and I will see you guys in the next one.